time for a Red Bull, and let's talk about the car and the Horsepowers that it made. So, the car made it to the dyno day. I gotta thank John Kerr, I gotta thank all these people that helped me out. Nick, my buddy over at Absolute Driven Performance. I appreciate it, guys. Without you, it's just not possible. Joe Dula Designs, I'm very fortunate. So, the car did very well. What I mean very well, we literally had zero issues. Zero issues, for lack of better words, that I could have caused, anyone could have caused, right? So the car made great power. If you guys saw my post, I said made like 900-ish, 1,000-ish. What I mean by that is, the gearing on this car is insane. So I did the math at 8,500 RPM, which we're revving to, that is 180 miles an hour in fourth gear. I have a 373 rear engine. I'm actually gonna put a 410 gear in the car. I need to tighten it up because it's just way too long. Makes the car extremely laggy. I can't even use 6th gear, to be honest. Like, it's that bad. So I'm going to go down or go up to a 410. I even thought about, I think they have like a 423, but I already have a Ford Performance 410 gear over there. So that's where I wanna go. Now, the reason it was 900-ish, and I say 1,000-ish here, is the fact that if we put it in 4th gear, the car would put the power down. We aired down the tires, strapped it, double strapped it, insanely to get the car to put the power down. If we use 3rd gear, we could do the gear calculations, even because it's not the one-to-one, the car would spin on the dyno. And the small rollers did not like it. It was also the dyno, I guess, is tuned or dialed in for like up to 130, 140 miles an hour. So I was overspinning the dyno by a lot. So at like 7,000, 7,500 RPM, it just wouldn't read properly. We knew we were making more power. You could watch the curve go up more. You could see we're eating more boost. And at the end of the day, this car is nothing special. The recipe, I know what it should make for that boost, blah, 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 blah. So it made roughly 1,000 horsepower on a Mustang dyno at 36 PSI, which would be around 1,100-ish on a like dyno jet. So that's a lot of ishes in there. That's a lot of ish. But everything went well. I'm very happy. We literally had zero issues. Changed the plugs out, and we didn't even have to gap the plugs. So this runs 36 PSI, and it has just dropped in BKIREI, whatever, it's EIX, whatever, just regular plugs in it. They're iridium plugs, and we didn't have to gap them using the R35 coil packs. Beyond impressed with that, because I didn't want to gap them. Helps with cold start, helps with a multitude of things, right? If you don't have to gap the plugs, you get a wider spark range, so on and so forth. So that I thought was awesome. That was my goal with that. I did not want to gap plugs. I like the fact that if I have to change plugs, never have to gap them, just drop them in, let the car eat. It's one less thing you got to think about, do, blah, 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 blah. One thing I did notice though, once we got back from the dyno, I did have one small oil pan leak. It's coming from the one front bolt. Looked like it was loose. I must have missed it. I tightened it up here. Hopefully it doesn't leak anymore. When I mean leak, it just had just a baby dribble, and it's from the top oil pan. The below Autobahn Motorsports pan, zero leaks. Even though he even specifically says, like, you can't have anything, what's the word I'm looking for here? Can't have anything like disrupting the seal, because it just has an O-ring on it now instead of FIPG. So the upper or lower oil pan, I had to scrape it because it was already on the engine, and try to do my best I can because I didn't want to get anything in the engine itself. So that didn't have an issue. Nothing out of the front main seal, rear main seal, nothing out of the dipstick. Perfect. Crankcase pressure, it had 0.2, that's correct, 0.2 PSI of crankcase pressure. Phenomenal. The car just, everything went well. Cooled well, drove well, tips in well, it does everything. I mean, I just drove it 4 hours to Ocean City and back, so it's 4 hours down, 4 hours back. Drove it around there, AC, heat, does it all. Speedo works off the NEXUS. We have everything working. The only thing that we had is this. Front wheel speed sensor would not work. Let me take that back. It worked, but it looked like it kept seeing like an error. Meaning it most likely has a chipped tooth on the front gear. I had these rebuilt. Anything can happen. The dumbest stuff can happen. My buddy BB did install these, and I'm not even, I want to make sure it's clear. I'm not calling him out. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying they were rebuilt. My buddy installed them. They could have been bad gears to begin with. I don't know. It doesn't matter, but I have to explain to you guys why that's not working. So I switched over the wiring over to this one, and I'm going to go test it here today. And that one should work. The rear ones do work because I never even touched those. So that one works. It might even be something else, but the fact that I'm getting a reading and it looks like it's skipping means it's a chipped tooth of some sort. Not a big deal. If I want to, eventually I could take them apart, but if I can get this one to work and I'll need 2 wheel speed sensors, I'm not going to worry with that one for now. It just doesn't make any sense. Everything's powder coated, brand new. It has a chipped tooth, meh. And I was actually able to repurpose my wife's old computer. This is from like 2014, 2015. It is, it's a little old, but it still works. So I repurposed it here to just use it for NEXUS stuff. I have to actually leave it plugged in. I got to get a new battery for it because it doesn't work the best. So I need to get a new battery and use this, but everything works great. We have all the fail-safe set up. I'm beyond happy. So like, wanted to show you guys here because I want to go over some of this stuff that people have asked about. So like, the Speedo works off a generic here. So let's actually key the car on. Okay, the fuel pump on there, I just turn the key on. BTI gauge, I'll go over that too. That works up 100% too. I have it on auto log. So the minute I key the car on, it starts logging for me, which I really like. It may take some time to complete. Okay. What do we got here? So like my boost gauge runs off of, or for the BTI, runs off this wiring here, which is a switch. It's a generic you create, you give it its own name, okay? Then you go down here to wiring, select the wiring that it's coming into. It's an input. We used AVI 12, and you can see the voltage change. And this voltage change allows me to then change the boost. Same thing with traction control. It's the same exact setup. I think I used an AVI for that too. Yep, AVI 13. Works in the same aspect as like a dial switch, except you're just doing it through the gauge up there. And again, this is generics you guys can set up. You can give it whatever name you want. I love this. Like, you can do whatever you want with a NEXUS. It's absolutely insane. Fog light input, so for my fog lights there, this is general power overall. This is what gives power to everything else in the car. Vehicle functions here, we've got, again, air conditioner, and again, I had to play with this some when we're down there at the beach, so if I click this open a little bit more, come on, get my finger to work there, and boom, boom. So you can set up different conditions here, but maximum RPM. So once I get above 4,500 RPM, okay, the AC kicks off. So you don't overspin it, cause it to blow up, something of that nature. So maximum RPM for my AC is 4,500. It'll kick off and then kick back on once I get below that RPM range. Then you also have to set like an idle base offset. Now you don't have to have this per se, but when you kick that pump on, it creates drag, which then causes your car to actually start to almost like like it has an even bigger cam. So you set an idle base offset, keeps it from stalling out when coming to a light, driving down the road. It just makes things a little bit better, makes things easier. One of the things I did have issues with, I can't get rolling anti-lag and launch control to work properly. Works every other car, it kicks on. I know the switch works, we can get it to switch on, but it's not building any boost, and we're going to work with Nick here today on that one. We've got the horn output here, so literally got the horn set up, does it through there. It's an on-off switch, so if I come up here, see if I can get my butt. Works directly through the Haltech itself, which I thought was neat. Again, it's pretty awesome having a PDM. Then some of my sensors, manifold fuel, oil, coolant pressure, crankcase pressure, intake, oil temp, coolant temp, flex fuel compensation. Actually, there's a flex fuel temperature I could do. I could see my fuel temp if I wanted to, but I don't really care about that at this time. But yeah, a bunch of neat stuff. Yeah, like I said too, I'm outputting for my Speedo. Trying to think of anything that is else that is neat. That's pretty much it. Like I said, it's a very basic car, but having this stuff is pretty awesome. Makes life a lot easier. One other thing too I love about a NEXUS, for like if I need help, I can call Haltech, literally do this, click remote help. They can remote in. You don't need a secondary program. They can get directly into your computer from remote help. If I click on that, let me just do it just to show you guys. Now, this computer is a little slow, which is not exactly the greatest. See that? That's atrocious. Again, I just literally repurposed this computer. Look at that. Oof. This might not work for anything besides myself. What does this say? And you'll get something like this. You'll get a session ID, 288. When that pops up, you tell the person you're on the phone with, hey, I got number 288. And yeah, they can, just get rid of that now. I don't want that on there anymore. Don't want anyone to connect. But yeah, that is it. It allows them to get in there, so no need for team viewer or anything of that nature. It allows, now it has to be a Haltech employee. I wish they would open this up for actual tuner. So like if my tuner has like a service they paid for, something, because having this is awesome. When you do this too, it works just like TeamViewer. They don't just have access to this, they have access to your entire computer. You just don't need a secondary program, nothing. It just makes it a lot freaking easier, in my personal opinion. A lot less lag with it too versus TeamViewer, which I do like. Again, I have auto log set up. This also has an oscilloscope, which is really nice to have. I wanted to show this too, an I/O report. So this shows you every single wire that's being used. So show all device types, show connection types. So what we can do, show assigned. So we can do show assigned. This shows every single wire we have assigned currently. Okay, so if I go down through this list, it shows every wire and what it's being used for. It shows you voltage in there, it shows the location in your connector, all of it, right? And if you buy their wiring whip, it'll then match up to that wiring color on the left side too. Like it's absolutely awesome. And then you can do this, show available. So I'm trying to find some that are open. Like, what do I have left? Do I have AVIs? Do I have outputs? What do I have? And you can see here I have 3 AVIs left. Digital pulse outputs, I've got 2 left here. Let's go down. I've got a ton of SPIs, which is sync pulsed inputs, home input for the ECU, injection outputs. Look at all these. And again, when you see all that stuff like injection outputs, everything on this ECU can be repurposed. You can repurpose outputs. Like an injector can be an output now for something else. You can use it all the time for other things. Same thing with inputs. You can use those for other items. Look at all these half bricks. Look at all these 8 amps I still have open. What do I have? How many do I have open? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 outputs for 8 amps still open. I have 2 25 amps there. Got cam port, another wideband. All that stuff can be repurposed what you want, and you can see it by color. Again, this is just a quick overview, but I wanted you guys to be able to see this. And then for the BTI gauge, guys, everything's set up on that too, so I can see my boost, do all that good stuff too. So if I should be in the driver's seat for this, but if I go here, and let's go back to the main page. So we go to this one, hit the little gear cog, and up here we can change boost or traction. So if I click on the center button here, if I press up or down, right now it's on level 12, which I don't need. I can go change the boost or change the traction. And then on boost here, I have it on level 4 going up to level 5. Level 5 is my 36, 37 PSI. And then level 0 is wastegate. Level 1 is 22. 2 is 24, 25, 3 is 30, so on and so forth. So yeah, and I love that you can do all this for one screen. I don't need other switches. It runs off a CAN. Makes it really, really nice. But let's fire this thing up now. It's on 85 currently, so we'll see how it starts up. I really haven't had to like cold start it much. What I mean by that is been driving it so much I haven't let it get cold. It's been about 48 hours, so truly cold for once. Now it does sit in my garage, and it is summertime here in Pennsylvania. And it is 69 degrees on the old water temp. And we have, what's the content for 85? It is to 52%, so nothing crazy right now. And let's fire this old hog up. God, it's loud. Jesus Christ. Lord have mercy, I forgot. When you're at the beach, I was like, oh, it sounds cool. Now I'm home, I'm like, I need a muffler bad. Straight pipe is cool and all, but good Lord, it is loud. But I mean, fired right up. Didn't even hesitate, didn't have a problem. So I'm happy with that. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but I have that Phase 2 Motor Trend suspension on this car, right? Which is all spherical bearings, there's no bushings. Which I was like, this thing's gonna rattle my teeth out, this is not gonna drive well. I'm like, if it doesn't work, I'll just go back to OEM. I was 100% wrong. I will say this, you definitely can feel everything, but you can't feel everything. And you're like, that's, what, Ryan? That makes no sense. Listen to me here. So it doesn't like rattle your teeth out, the car doesn't vibrate, but you can definitely get every bit of input. Like a car drives better, smoother, it's just everything's better, but you get a lot more input back. Like there's no bushings to like, rubber bushing to even get like a little bit of sway. Like when you give it input, it gives input. Like it's very precise now, and I'm in love. For the fact that, one, it's cheaper. Number two, everything's replaceable now. So if anything, like any of the bearings do go bad, I just remove it, put a new bearing in, and get back to work. Like I don't have to now buy a new arm, press bushings out. Like they're designed to be pulled in and out and reused, and it's awesome. Like it's freaking awesome. I need to adjust the front though, because the wheels aren't supposed to be sunken in this much. I have the arms adjusted in too far, which actually sunk the wheel in. So I can actually adjust the arms out to get it where it should actually be. Not a big deal. So I plan on doing it this winter, or maybe sometime this summer when I get downtime. I just don't want to do it right now because the car's driving, but it just doesn't look proper right now, right? It just looks like I got tilty wheels. Let's be honest. It looks like I got tilty wheels on the car, and I don't like it. So besides that though, everything's great. I'm again, and besides that, like I don't even want to say that's a bad thing. Everything, the clutch drives great. I'm still on the McLeod twin disc, not even on the 1200. Didn't slip it all in the dyno, hasn't slipped yet. Drove it all the way down to the beach, drove it around traffic, drove great. Actually just took some logs, downloading these logs here. So yeah, I'm trying to see if my wheel speed sensors work. Then after that, I want to see why my anti-lag is not working. And after that, yeah, just there's not much. I mean, the car just, everything went well. Like, and I got it done pretty quick, I thought, but compared to all the other dumb stuff. But the crunch time part where I need to get the harness and get everything done. All right, guys, some other stuff I wanted to go over with you is some wheel speed. So you can see I built like a little wheel speed table on the right-hand side here, and you can see I have the front, rear left, and then the drivetrain sensor. Now, realistically for me, I don't even need the drivetrain sensor because I can use the front wheel speed sensor for my dash and stuff of that nature. But Jose had already wired it up, so I went ahead and got it working today. The one thing I want to explain here is that I've just been really fighting this, so I wanted to make a video. So I'm not explaining this like I know everything. I'm explaining this for my own sake because I just got it done. Big thank you to Steve Rothenberg, Bob Wilkinson, and then of course Nick over at Haltech here. So the car originally was set up with all the wiring and everything done as a Hall effect sensor. So I went from vehicle speed here down to wiring, okay? And with this here, you can see everything I'm using. I'm using SPI 1, 2, and 9. These are a synchronized pulsed input, and these were all set up instead of reluctor. If I click this down, they're set up as Hall effect. Well, the Supra ABS sensors are reluctor style, so it was causing issue. The funny part is the rear wheels still worked with Hall effect set up. So Bob was kind of explaining that it can work, but won't work, and that's why I was kind of bouncing around. And her car is completely set up on it. So John must have just set it up like that because it obviously worked and didn't think otherwise. Well, we're now finding out why it was never the best and was finicky because it wasn't correct. Not a big deal, but now it is working. So you'll set it up as reluctor. You'll pick your wiring, select reluctor. It can be falling or rising edge. It honestly 100% does not matter. You just, because it's going to go up and down. Bob explained all this to me. It's going to pass the point of zero. And so it doesn't matter if it's falling or rising when it comes to that. Now, after you get that set up, we're going to use my front wheel speed sensor here. So you can see over here, you've got my input 9. You got your arming threshold glitch. Again, input 1, arming threshold and glitch, and then input 2, arming threshold and glitch. Input 1 here is my front wheel speed sensor, and at the top here, it's going to show your voltage, and it's going to go for me from 0.2 up to 2.0 for the voltage range to show that swing. And in between that period, it's going to then give me my actual, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's going to give me my input to tell how fast the car is going. That's also based off a glitch filter, which kind of gets rid of the noise. Now, with that all being said, we need to go back up to vehicle speed. So under vehicle speed here, we have the front left wheel sensor. If I come down here, we have front wheel left sensor, and it pulses / milliseconds at 39,210 pulses per millisecond. Now, we base that off the calibration speed of 40 miles an hour. Now, you can also, there's gear calculators out there and pulse calculators that I think Evans Tuning and them have, and you can literally type it in. So the size of your wheel, the amount an hour you're going, you can just type it in. Or, you like me, I used a GPS, took it out, got up to as darn close as I could to 40 miles an hour, and then clicked calibrate, and it gave me to this. Then I had to do the same thing with the rear. And the reason I have to do it differently from the front is my rear tire is bigger. So obviously as it spins around, it's spinning at a different amount of time. So I got it to 40 miles an hour, click calibrate, and got this. And then same thing for the drivetrain sensor. 40 miles an hour, click calibrate, and you can see here. Obviously, The calibration for that, because it is much higher because the gear is much smaller. And also I believe it has more teeth. It has more teeth on it there. So that sets that up, which makes me really happy. And then from there, that allows me to set up traction control. But instead of that, even for now, let's skip traction control. Let's come down here. You can output speed from that now. So I have speedo set up under my generics, and we did this for Kat's car, and I'm gonna go fix it here because I was wondering why it bounces a little bit. So we can set up speedo. It's a generic, you literally give it its own name, tell what you're using it for. It's a frequency. We're gonna base off a table. So we come down here. And here's our frequency table. I actually showed Chris from Night Run Garage how to get this set up too. And we're gonna do it from 0 to 180 miles an hour, basically off 2 to 204 hertz here. So you can see the hertz down here. And what I did was kind of went out, took the car and see where it needs to be at. So you have to keep playing with this to try and get the numbers right. And it just takes a little bit of time. I highly recommend if you have a dyno, do this on the dyno, especially if you have an all-wheel drive dyno. It's the only way you're going to be able to really get it done. So you can see all four wheels spinning at the same time. Or if you're out in the street, have a buddy drive and just tell him, hold it at 20 miles, you know, get a GPS out and say, this is 20 miles an hour, right? Okay, let's try playing with it till it shows it on the dash up here. And you keep playing with these numbers till you get it right. But I gave this to, oh shoot, I gave these numbers to Chris over at Night Run, and it worked for 2 of his customers, and they have all different wheels and sizes. So this seems to be the ticket here. So if you guys want to see that, take a screenshot. That should help you. And then it come down to wiring also. It just takes one of the DPOs. It's an output, and I use that to the dash to give it for my speedo, so I don't need a decoded digital box. Just makes it pretty easy. And then if you want to try and clean it up some, like so, you got it close here, right? You've got it pretty close, but it's not spot on. You come back to speedo here, and you come over your frequency settings. Here, your duty cycle, it's at 89% for me. That gets me darn close. I could go down a little bit higher, but at 89% duty cycle, my gauge cluster works like factory. It is phenomenal. I couldn't be any happier. So I just kind of wanted to go over with that with you guys. I guess I could go over traction control. We'll make that for another video maybe, or nah, screw it. Let's just kind of talk about it real quick. I don't know everything again, guys. I want to make sure it's 100% clear. I'm just going over this stuff because I just got it working. Yeah, a big shout out to all these people that helped me. I love learning. Again, if you guys know, I teach CAD work for a living, which I really do enjoy. But this is even more fun because cars are cool. So if I think it's under, where's traction control? Right here. So I did a percentage by cut, and we're using ignition. Now, being honest, desired slip table here that also opens up, I'm not even using it. I zeroed it out, and this is per Nick. Zeroed it out, and then a cut percentage. He's like, look, depending what you have, so we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is voltage for my BTI gauge. So this could be like your trim pot on this side. So 0 voltage, I want everything to be off. So I want the traction control to be off so I can do like a fat burnout if I want, right? And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4. As I goes up in numbers, the cut percentage or the aggressiveness of that cut gets higher and higher and higher. Does that make sense? So it gets more and more aggressive as those numbers go up. And this is based off a differential. So it's a wheel slip by speed. So this isn't the actual speed of your car. It's a speed versus what the car is actually doing. So at 15 mile per hour versus what the front wheels are doing, it's going to cut so much. And now I can go more aggressive on this. I'm going to start at 5 and see how aggressive this feels. If it's too aggressive, I'll come back down. But this pretty much gives you the gist of it, right? So I think it's actually the opposite. I need to go this way with it because I think this should be, no, this is right. This is correct. So yeah, this gives you your wheel slip. So yeah, I believe actually I do need to flip this. So this should be 32 and 40. No, that's correct. Sorry, I keep confusing myself here. But again, this is just to give you the basics. Just wanted to show you guys that I thought was pretty neat and how to get your wheel speed set up, especially for something like that, which has an Aristo transmission in it. So I don't even have a trans speed. So I used the wheel speed, and then Nick helped me. This was 2 or 3 years ago to set up. So we used for the dash, and I've been helping others. So the NEXUS is more money, right? So, but if I can save you or teach you guys how to make it do everything you need, let's do that. This is where people see it and get sticker shock, but you have to realize it can literally do everything. You have to tell yourself and understand it can do everything. You want it to do it with bioelectronic, the damn thing will do it. And if it can't, you call Haltech and make sure that they do get it done. It's absolutely amazing. And lastly, guys, I found another issue was causing me a problem on both cars. So I'm actually in the Auto Supra now, but it did it on both. And I'm like, it would do like this fail safe. Like it would, like the car would hit a limiter at 2000 RPMs, right? It would hit this limiter after the car wasn't cold, but it wasn't hot either. When it was like at 120 to 110 degrees, it would do like this weird limiter, and it would cause the car to literally stop at 2,000 RPMs. Couldn't figure it out, so I finally started logging just everything. Found that it was hitting a failsafe for oil pressure, because we come down here to diagnostics. Thank you to Nick for helping me with this again. There is a post-start delay for this sensor. But what was happening is the sensor wasn't picking up the pressure right away, thinking that the car didn't have enough. So because this was set to 0, there was no post-start delay. So what was happening is it was shutting the car down, saying you can't rev past 2,000 RPM. So I'm like, oh, lovely, great. And that was causing it. But if I would key the car off and back on again, the car would be fine. So this fixes that. So I put the post-start delay by 5 seconds. It could probably make it 1 second or 2 seconds and be okay. But 5 seconds just to give me that little bit of window of time from looking at the log. And I did it on my car too, but it fixed that. So that's the kind of stuff you got to be aware of. Haltech has there's so many features in it, which is good, but it's also, oh my God, there's just a lot to it. So it is a big boy ECU now, as I would consider it, like something like Motec, where my AEM was very dry and cut, very straightforward, but it was also very limiting. It did what it did, and that was it. Where this is like, if you want it to do it, it will do it. So I know I'm rambling on here. You guys got to see the dyno numbers, not dyno numbers, but you got to tell for what I told you, and you got to see a little bit of dyno there. And I kind of just want to go over some of the neat features inside the program here, because this is going to be stuff you guys are going to need too once you switch over to Haltech. So that pretty much sums it up. There's a lot more stuff we're going to be doing here. I'd like to go do the rear end of this next. Transmission on this car. I'd like to redo suspension, do the rear end on this too. What I mean by that is like clean it all up, powder coat it all. So make some videos on that. But we've got 2 running, driving, completed Supras. Finally, both are done at the same time in my vision. This makes me super happy. So thank you guys very much for all the support, for everyone that's helped me along this way, for every sponsor, every friend, every person that has chipped into this. Thank you. It's finally done. They're finally done, which means it's time to take them back apart. Welcome to the show, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.